Hi everyone, it's Mike here and welcome back to my YouTube channel. So it's time for another weekly Oracle prompt over on the Mission Inspiration Facebook group. It's week 22, can you believe it? And we're in June already. So without further ado, let me turn over to my overhead camera. I'll show you this week's prompt and then I'll go through my art journal project for the week. Alrighty then, so the prompt for week 22 is Metamorphosis. So embrace the transformative dance of change. Like a butterfly emerging from its cocoon, evolve with grace. Navigate the shifts with courage, for in the chrysalis of metamorphosis, discover the wings of resilience and the beauty of becoming your authentic self. Now, this year I did say I was going to do a butterfly ban. I didn't want to use butterflies. I was going to try creatively not to use butterflies at all this year. It's going to fall down today because I'm going to have to. I've got to. I could theoretically use a dragonfly because they also do emerge, but you know, and also frogs, tadpoles emerge into, you know, there's lots of different ones. But where I have to is because of this brand new stamp release. And I only had a chance to actually play with it properly yesterday. So I'm going to play with it today. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to recreate one of the demos I did on the Facebook Live at Indigo Blue yesterday. But I'm going to do it in a little different way. Yesterday I did it landscape. Today I'm going to do it portrait. But I'm going to do it similar-ish, but not the same, but similar-ish. So I'm going to be using this, which is the Soft Wings new stamp, red rubber. Yes, its stamp is already well loved. It got used a lot yesterday. So I'm going to be using that one as the focal point for my art journal page. I'm also going to be using some of the texture stamps as well in this other one, which is Journaling Textures 1, which is now released. And also the sentiment I'm going to be using from this stamp set as well. So Journaling Quotes 1. So I shall be using stamps from all three sets in the art journal page today. Not only that, it's a shameless plug day today. I'm going to be using some of the background papers from some of the new, or from this set, which is one of the two new papers that were released in conjunction with Indigo Blue yesterday. So dots and circles. If you've already purchased the page breakers, the paint palette, the colour palette for the dots and circles is also very similar to that, because I really wanted it to be a companion. But this is all dots and circles. Still got the grunge, still got the scratches, but it's all dots and circles, which we all love. I've already started pulling this apart just because I've already started using it. So this is the dots and circles set, which is now available as well. But also there's the retro collage. I'm not going to be using this one today, but I will be using this during the week. And this is, again, it's a beautiful set. I love the colour palette on this one. But we're not here to talk about this one today because, you know, it's not his day today. So for this one, I want to use, I'm not going to use that sheet. That would just happen to be one of the other pages. I want a fairly kind of lightish there. This one will work beautifully. So let's tear that to pieces. So again, the same quality of paper on these ones. So it is 170 GSM, which is £115 if you're using Imperial. Our American cousins don't use GSM, they use the poundage system. So yeah, it's £115 weight. So it's nice. And it's uncoated stock as well, so you can draw and write on it. There's no sheen to it at all. It is flat. Look at that. It's just dead flat matte, which is beautiful. Love these papers to bits. Okay, so what I'm going to do, that's the card that I'm going to be creating on my journaling, the quote block, the prompt, worms today, the prompt is on there already, so I'm going to be creating my page on this strip here, but I want to do a little black frame today. So I've cut a piece of cheap 12x12. It's not even black core, it's got a white core, this stuff. But I've already cut that to the right kind of size that I want to create that black frame. I'm going to be using black stamping, so it's going to all kind of coordinate and go together, I hope. Pieces throwing it on the floor. So what I want to do is just mark on here. I did have a pencil a second ago. That's what happens when you put things down. So I'm just going to mark a little bit, so it does help if you actually give yourself some room to maneuver, doesn't it? Right, let me position that on that piece of cardstock. This is how to do it without having to measure. So just lay it corner to corner, so I've got an equal kind of border left and right. And I'm going to just mark on the paper there, and I'm just going to mark on the paper at the bottom. Now I can trim it with confidence. Okay. Wasn't there a song once? Doing something with confidence. I can't remember what the title of it was. There we go. So I'm going to use that for the background. What's just dropped off into my lap? Oh, it was my folding tool. It's fallen off. There we go. Least said, soon is mended. All right, so all that 6s and 7s to that. I had a little bit of an accident earlier on with a pot of white gesso and some water. Needless to say, it went everywhere. Splashes on the worktop, the lot. And I realised I'd left my kitchen towel at Indigo Blue yesterday. So yeah, I had to run downstairs really quickly to get another set for me, another roll. Right, so I'm just going to put some glue on the back of that. Not bothered too much about getting it right towards the edges because I like it when it lifts. I like that kind of dimension. And this is just bog standard kind of Elmer's school glue, so nothing extravagant. And then we'll just pop that down, and hopefully we've got a little bit of wiggle room to be able to maneuver it before it grabs, just to kind of get that border equal all the way around. There we go. See, we just call it job done now, couldn't we? Love these papers. But I'm biased, so, you know. Right, so the next thing I'm going to do is bring out my stamping platform. And then let's just get that down on there. And then I'm going to grab the butterfly stamp. So I've put a line on the back of mine, just so it follows the line within the stamp, because it's kind of an odd shape. You don't want to be trying to put it down like that because you'll just be off. So I've just created a line on mine like that, so that I can gauge roughly. Doesn't matter if I'm a little bit off. Like so. Now what I want to do, grab some scratch paper, is I'm going to stamp, but I'm going to stamp really lightly. And I'm just going to use, this is Rusty Hinge, so it's an orange colour. And I'm not going to stamp perfectly, and I'm just going to kiss it lightly, like so. All I really want is just to see where the positions on the page of those butterflies, where they are. That's all I want. I'm not going to move the stamp. I'm going to leave that where it is now. And while that's still on the paper, I'm not moving the position there at all. I had a paintbrush before I lost my temper earlier on. I just need some white gesso. There we go. And I'm just going to take a little bit of white gesso and I'm just going to paint in the area where the butterflies are going to go, or the butterflies are. You see, again, I've just realised I didn't shake up the gesso first. There we go. When your pots of gesso or pots of paint have been sitting on your shelves and stuff, they do tend to sometimes separate from the binder, and you get the binder in a layer at the top rather than the paint. So just be aware. Sometimes you won't get what you're after unless you shake them up. There we go. See, that's a lot better. And I'm not going perfectly. I just want to just kind of roughly follow the shape of the butterfly, or the wings anyway. And it's important that I don't move the card or the stamp off the block, because otherwise you'd never get that position again. It's just not going to work. Right, so yeah, I am aware as well that the ink will react with the gesso, but that's okay. So what I'm basically doing is just adding a white base coat underneath. I didn't do this on the demo yesterday because I just wouldn't have had time on that Facebook Live. It's also, if you missed that yesterday, the live broadcast that I did from Indigo Blue HQ, if you go to their YouTube channel, Indigo Blue Tube, there's a complete copy of the live broadcast on their YouTube channel. But also, if you go to their Facebook page, I Love Indigo Blue, you can rewatch the whole thing if you've got the stomach for it from yesterday. So you can watch the whole launch, the live demos, the lot. So I did 2 demos and Kay did 1. So all right, so I did a similar-ish, not the same, but similar-ish demo yesterday with these. Right, let's get that dry. I'm not moving it again. So as that gesso dries, it reacts with the rusty hinge underneath, and look at the colour it's turned. I know. It's like witchcraft. Okay, so what I want to do is just bring that back in, and I want a black ink. So I'm using the VersaFine Clair, or VersaFine Clair, if that's how it's pronounced. And then back over again, and then down. And we need to go back again, just to kind of, there we go. So that's gone right over where I need it to go. So while that's still wet, we can lift that off, maneuver that, grab some scratch paper. I've got to get some, get in before it's too dry. And then I'm going to cover with embossing powder. That should do. Just tap that off. So the embossing powder I'm using is the clear superfine embossing glaze from Indigo Blue. And then I'm just going to quickly heat that to activate the embossing powder. Still, even after all these years, I find it's like witchcraft whenever I do that kind of stamping, that kind of embossing. It's just, how does it work? It's like magic. Right, so I'm now going to come back in with the texture, the journaling textures, and I'm just going to take one of my new stamp blocks. Okay, so that will fit exactly on there, and then just using that rusty hinge again, because we've got oranges and kind of warm colours there. I'm just going to add some of that stamping in that corner, and then down here, and then I'm going to do a little bit up there. We're going to leave a little bit of a space for a sentiment, for a quote to go on the page there. So we'll just do a little bit coming in over here across those circles, just like that. I'm just showing a little bit of restraint, just a little. So that's that one stamp there. Okay, then I'm going to use the text block, which is some vintage French script. Now I'm going to come back in with a little bit of that black. Okay, so I'll just make sure I get it the right way around so it's not upside down. Yep, that's the right way. I should put an arrow, shouldn't I, on the back of the stamp so I know. So I want some second generation stamping. So I'm just going to stamp off the majority and then just come back in lightly. So stamp off, stamp down just a little bit. Don't fall ink side down onto my lap. I nearly had stamped trousers then. And then we'll do a little bit coming out the side there. Okay. Let's just clean that up. I'll give it a proper clean later. Alright, so I'm just going to use those two. I've got a bit of wet wipes here now. Excuse the crinkling noise. It sounds like my joints. You know, I've got dropsy today. I've just dropped it on the floor. Oh. Everything I pick up, I'm dropping on the floor today. Dropping, spilling, knocking on the floor. Real dropsy. All right. So put that way forward. Now I need to get some colour. So I'll just let that dry for a second. And then I'll go and sort out my little colours and then I'll be right back. Okay, I've zoomed in just a little bit. So I've got two of the Indigo Blue Vivid colours here. I've got the Loxley Yellow, which obviously is a yellow colour. Loxley Yellow. And I've got the Alan Adele, which is an orange colour. So we're still keeping within those kind of warm palettes which we've got in the foreground here. I know there's a little bit of darkness in the background, but that's fine. So, and all I need with this is the tiniest drop, like so. Just in case you've lost it, it's there. And the same with the Allen Dale. 1 drop is all you really need. And then what I'm going to do is just get some water, put a little bit of water there, a little bit of water there, and then I'm going to pick up some water and then pick up the yellow. And remember, I only did the smallest of dots of colour. And because we've used the embossing powder, that's going to create a barrier resist, which is cool, which we like. Okay, that's the yellow done. Now a little bit of water and then that orange. And also, because we've put that white gesso underneath, that's really going to make those colours pop. Because you're starting off, rather than with a coloured base, you're starting off with a white base. And I literally used the smallest amount of that colour, as you can see. Virtually none. Loving that. Okay, so I'll just quickly give that a wash. Put that to one side. Grab some kitchen towel, give that a clean. Love it. And then I'm just going to give it a little bit of a waft over with the heat gun, just to kind of seal that colour in, and then we're nearly done. All right, so next, sentiment wise. Well, I keep saying sentiment, but it's not really a sentiment. All right, so I've got, because we're talking about metamorphosis, so it's talking about change, it's about moving forward, it's about evolving. So we're going to use the "don't look back, you're not going that way." So we've got that, got my little stamp block. Get some cardstock. Oh, a piece of cardstock, you see. I should be more prepared. Actually, instead of using the cardstock, why don't we see if we can use a bit of that leftover paper to stamp on? That would probably work better, wouldn't it? Right, so bring back in that Versaclair. And I'm glad that I did that, because I've picked up the wrong stamp. It's in the wrong place on the block. That's the quote from Elizabeth I. Right, instead, that's the one I want. You're the one that I want. Okay, so let's bring that up there. And then I'll just waft that for a second. And I'm going to grab my scissors, and then we're going to cut that out. Just trim it. Right, so I'll trim that fairly close. Trying not to touch the ink with my fingers, just in case. If it's still a little bit damp, I'm probably going to end up smudging it, so I'm trying not to. And then as close as we can. and that will fit just nicely, I think. But what it does need is a little bit of a black border. So let's just bring back some of that black card. Get some glue. It should be dry now. A little bit of glue on the back. That should do us. And then I'm going to stick it on. All right. And then we'll just quickly trim that off, so I'm not handling an unwieldy piece. And then I can go back in and just trim it down, just so there's a little bit of a black border around the sentiment. It just makes it pop from the background. I keep calling it a sentiment, but it's not a sentiment, it's a quote. If it was a sentiment, it'd be like happy birthday, wouldn't it? Or deepest sympathy or something. It's not a sentiment. Quote or phrase. There we go. All right. A bit of glue on there. Don't need a lot. It's only paper on paper when all said and done. And I'm going to put it there. Just like that. Okay, now we've got that done. Oh, should we do some white splatters just for the sheer hell of it? All right, let's get that pot of gesso that I had earlier today, the one that I knocked everywhere. What I've done is there's a little bit of gesso left in the bottom of this pot, so I've put a load of water in and I've given it a really good shake. So I've now got some ready-made splatter material. I don't have to keep mixing it up now. It's ready to go. And a lot of this will disappear, but that's fine. You only want a little bit of a hint. A suggestion. Just pop that to one side. Right, let me get cleaned up, tidied up, wiped down, dried off, and then I'll be right back. Alrighty then, so the white gesso has kind of dropped into the background a little bit, so you can still see the splatters around the page, but it's not overly apparent where it is, so it doesn't become overpowering. So now, let's grab some glue. And then we can stick this down. There we go. Let's wipe that off. And then place that right as near as we can into the middle. So what I will do with that is I will put some heavy stuff on top of it, maybe a book or something like that, just to hold it flat, because there is a little bit of wrinklyage. But before we do that, I will just quickly add my little signature on the page there, 1st of June 24. And that is my little art journal page for week 22, mission inspiration, and the prompt being the word metamorphosis. So I do hope you enjoyed watching me create this little art journal page today. If you did, please remember to give the video a thumbs up, share it with a friend, and if you haven't subscribed to my YouTube channel already, you can do so by clicking the button at the end of the video. And don't forget, if you want to join us over in the Mission Inspiration Facebook group for the weekly art challenges, the weekly prompts, then that's the URL on the screen there, but there will be a clickable link below the video. That's all from me for now. I'll see you all again next week, and have a great weekend. Bye for now. I'd like to say a huge thank you to all of my angels, because without you, these videos would not be possible. And don't forget, you can access your exclusive angel-only content over on my website. There's a link in the description area below. Thank you.